Linda.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Happy to be here.
Good. I'm glad. So, Linda, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So, my name is Linda Whittaker. I have been with the agency for about almost 14 years. And I've known Kathy almost my whole life. I grew up with her in California, so we're both California girls.
Yes.
So, but I knew her family and she knew my family, and we had a really good relationship. And when I moved to Utah, I decided to see if I could come to work for her. Actually, we found each other and we kind of both said, let's try this. And so I'm really happy to be here. And I love working in adoption, and I love helping families. My job at Active Love is I'm in the office, and I mostly, I mostly answer phones, emails, live chats, and just answer questions and help families to understand about adoption and about Active Love. And so it's been a really good learning curve, and I've had to learn a lot, and so I'm a really good listener.
Good.
So I listen to what other people say, and then I learn a lot. And so I'm there to answer questions and help families with anything they need to know about adoption.
That's awesome. So you're the first person.
Usually I'm the first person that they either
to.
email with or live chat with or talk to on the phone. Yeah. And then what the best part is that when they come in to get their babies and they get placed, then I get to say, remember me? I was there in the beginning and I was there in the end. So yeah, it's really fun.
That's awesome. So Linda, can you tell us a little bit about Active Love since you've been there for so long?
Yeah, I have been there for a long time. So Active Love, or A Active Love, we can talk about that another time, but is a domestic adoption agency, so it's not international. All of our babies are born within the United States. We are a nonprofit, full-service, licensed child placing adoption agency. And that's really important because there's agencies out there that only do home studies.
Yeah.
There's agencies out there that only will help you to answer questions and help you with just different parts of the adoption, but not necessarily do all of it. And we are a full service, and we can do all or part of any adoption, especially here in Utah, because we cannot do home studies outside of Utah. But we can do just helping with the birth mother things, with relinquishments, with all different parts, or we can do the whole adoption. So Active Love is a full-service licensed child placing adoption agency, and because you do have to be licensed to be able to do the legal part of the adoption and to help families, and so that is an important part. We've been in business for 29 years. It's going on 30 years now, and
that's a long time.
We are located in Utah, but we work with birth mothers and adoptive families all over the United States, and we've been doing that for 29 years, like I said before. I already said that. And we work with families that are living abroad if they're U.S. citizens. And so we've done a lot of that too. So
that's amazing.
We do also work with same-sex couples. We work with single parents, male and female, fathers and mothers. And we work, of course, married couples. Yeah. And we are pretty open to a lot of different situations and different family dynamics, and it just works really well.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, Linda. So if I were an adoptive mother coming to you, asking you how to start the adoption process, what would you tell me?
So I like to always tell families that the first thing you need to do is decide what kind of adoption you want to have. If you want to have a kinship or family adoption, if you know somebody who's having a baby that's in your family, or if you want to do foster to adopt. There's also private adoption. We are private, but some people like to do it on their own. Yeah. And some will just do it and use an attorney to help them. And that's a lot of work, and it's kind of hard. Or you can work with an agency. So an agency like ours that can help with the advertising and the birth mother part, and to help with your adoption process a little bit more than just an attorney. Which attorneys are good and they do a lot of good stuff, but
sure,
we can help with the whole part of all parts of the adoption.
Yeah. which is great.
So I ask families, the first thing you have to do is decide what kind of adoption you want to do. Oh, and international is another kind of adoption that they can do, or domestic. And like I say, we're only domestic. With COVID and with a lot of things going on, there's been some countries that don't do adoptions anymore or as much. Yeah. And I don't know very much about international adoption, so I'll stop there. But we only do domestic adoptions. So you just have to kind of decide what kind of adoption you want to do. There's also companies out there that are agencies that don't do the whole thing, and that some of them are called facilitators or consultants. And they're really good to answer questions and help you with things, but most of them are not licensed to do matching and placing.
Really?
So,
I didn't know that.
I kind of like to say, if they're talking to me, they don't need that because they've already found me.
Right.
So, facilitator or consultants can help you find, the right agency for you. So they can already do that. So, yeah.
So when adoptive families call you, what is something that you would tell them to ask other agencies when it comes to adoption?
That's a good question. So I think that they need to ask them how long they've been in business, how many families they're working with, how many adoptions they do per year. I've talked to families who the agencies they've talked to have done 100 adoptions a year, but they have 800 families they're working with. And so you have to kind of look at to compare all of the things, to talk about. But so how long they've been in business, if they're open to, what kind of families they're open to, and if they allow families to be, specific to what they're looking for. Some agencies aren't and some are. Ask them if they're licensed to do child placing and matching. You can ask them how long they've been in business and how many families they're working with and how many adoptions or placements they've done. You should probably ask them if they work with birth mothers and adoptive families and what they do for birth mothers and, some of the things that they can help with in that part. What is their policy for failed adoptions? That's another important question. You would probably want to ask them if they have referral families, if they have families that they can talk to that have worked with us or with that agency. What is the estimated waiting time? And if an agency allows families to be specific and to parameters and things that they're looking for. And then to ask them if they work with single parents and same-sex couples and about, how they work with different religious affiliations and if they can work with families living abroad. So those are some of the questions that I think would be good to ask an agency that you're working with. So I think the most important would be how long they've been in business and how many adoptions they do and how many families they're working with.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Those are kind of really important things.
Yeah, that's really important information. Linda, when people call our agency and they ask what makes us different from everyone else, what do you tell them?
Oh, that's a good question too. So I think it's important that the way that I look at it, and this is from my relationship with Kathy and from my understanding of her starting the agency and some of the things that made her choose to start the agency. And I think that we're all about choices. I don't know enough about other agencies to talk for them, but I know that for us, we take really good care of our birth mothers. Yes. We take really good care of our families. We allow families to be gender specific, ethnicity specific to drug and alcohol exposure, birth father issues, openness, all those kinds of things. And so they get a choice when they're in the process. And that really helps the birth mothers because they have choices too. Yeah. And that they really get, but I think the counseling that we do is one of the things that sets us apart, is that we love the birth mothers and we take really good care of them. The social workers that work with the birth mothers respect them and love them, and the counseling they do is, they accept the situations that these sweet girls are in and stuff. So it really is nice to kind of work with, to see that. But I think that having choices is really important, and I think that's one of the things that sets us apart, maybe. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's a huge life decision, whether you're placing or you're adopting. Absolutely, so those questions are very important.
Linda, what are some questions that potential adoptive parents should ask themselves?
Okay, yeah. So one of the things you'll need to talk about is how much money you have to spend on adoption.
It can get quite expensive.
And that's another whole story that we need to talk about at another time. But you need to kind of decide on a budget and what kind, how you're going to pay for an adoption, because it is not cheap. But that's something for another story, another day. But maybe what level of openness you want. So it's really good to kind of think about ahead of time how willing you are to have a relationship with the birth mother. And again, that's another whole podcast that we could talk about. So,
yeah.
But you need to have talked about that and think about that as a family. And then what are some of the parameters that you're looking for with a child? Are you looking for a younger child or an older child? We mostly place newborn babies right out of the hospital, so that there's not a lot of choice. But what are you open to as far as the age of the child? If you're open to multiple children or siblings, if you're very specific to gender or ethnicity, drug and alcohol exposure, birth father issues, all of those kind of things will be important things that you need to think about and talk to me about, or talk to us about, or talk to an agency about. But really, these are things that you need to talk amongst your family and decide for you what's important for you and how that fits into your adoption story. So
yeah.
You can talk to social workers at our office, or you can talk to, other families, and we do have referral families that you can talk to see what kind of experiences they've had and stuff. So we have a lot of options for that, and
we have a lot of resources.
Hold your hand and to help you and to support you through the whole process.
Yeah, that's great. Can you tell us about the adoption process?
Yeah. So it's not easy.
Yeah.
First of all, it's not easy.
There's
a lot of things that go into it. Hopefully in future podcasts, we can talk about some of these more specifically.
Sure.
But basically you have the application process. Once you have applied, there's a bunch of steps you get to take and have to do. And then once you are applied, then you get the second packet, which is like the first packet is only 49 pages.
Only, yeah.
Mostly informational, but there's about half of it is for the application. And then once you've applied, then you get the second packet, which is 24 attachments. And so there's a lot of paperwork that needs to be done, background clearances, reference letters, medicals. There's a whole bunch of things that have to be done. And so then once you get all of that done, then you get approved. So that's kind of considered the approval process, getting ready to be approved and all the paperwork that has to be done. Once you have been approved, or really for us, approval really just means that your paperwork is done.
Okay. And how long does that usually take? Does it vary?
That's not a good question for me because I don't do that. But I think it takes about 3 to 4, maybe 5 months.
Okay. To get through everything. And
to get through everything. And it could take longer. Some families you can take as long as you want.
Sure.
Some families want to do it really fast, but we can only work so fast with each family because we have a lot of families we're working with. Not me, but Shelley. Shelley does helps our families to get approved. But so it could probably about 3 to 4 months at the least.
Okay.
And it could take more. But so then once you're approved, which like I said before, just means your file's complete. You've done all of those 24 attachments. Mm-hmm. And then you're in the matching process. And Tara Lee is our matching coordinator, and she does magic. And it's just really cool to watch the process happen there.
Yeah, that'd be a really interesting job. I would probably really like that.
I get to listen in on things, but I don't do it. But I didn't say this before, but we match our birth mothers with our adoptive families. So we get our birth mothers ready, we get our adoptive families ready. And then once the birth mother's ready and she knows what she's looking for and she gets counsel to know that she has those kind of choices. Sure. It's really cool. And we can talk about this more another time. But the birth mothers usually choose the family that she places her baby with. Okay. And she knows quite a bit about the families. And so it's a really fun process. And so then once you're matched, and it could be a few days or a few weeks or a few months before the baby's born. Yeah. And then after you're matched, you are placed. Then you're in the placing process. Lots of paperwork. Some people have equated it to the same thing like buying a house and all the paperwork that you have to do. Because there's a lot. And so there's a placement, and there's first pre-placement stuff you do, and then placement stuff that you do, and then after you're placed, then you have you get ready for, then you do post-placement. And you have 6 months in most cases that you have to get ready to finalize your adoption.
Okay.
And so during that time, you do letters and pictures and medicals with your social worker and through me and with the office and stuff. And then after 6 months, then you finalize your adoption and the baby becomes yours forever. And then one of the things that's after finalization, but it's kind of in there, is correspondence with the birth mom, and we can talk about that another time too. But that's kind of the important parts of the process that you have to do, is the placement and the application, get approval, get matched, get placed, and then get ready for finalization. So those are kind of the main processes that you have to go through.
That's great. Thank you for sharing all that with us. So Linda, I think a lot of people that are going into the process of adoption have a lot of questions. Does Active Love offer any orientation or any classes to answer the questions that they may have?
Yeah. So we actually do a monthly adoptive family orientation. We do it live through Zoom meeting, so it's really fun. And it's very casual. Our director, Isaac Thomas, and the founder, Kathy Kunkel, put on this orientation, and it is live through Zoom meeting, and you do have to get an invitation to that. So if you are interested in that, good place to start is to call in, and it's aactiveloveadoptions.com. You can go to that, and you can request a packet and get information. So that's another really good place to get answers to questions.
Yeah.
Our packet will tell you about, I have a copy of it here, but we'll tell you about adoption generally and about our process specifically. So we have a lot of good information there. And the orientation is usually the first Tuesday of every month. So we do it the first Tuesday of every month. The next meeting is November 1st at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And then, so I don't know what the date is in December, so... But we do it the first Tuesday of every month, generally speaking. And it's a really good time to be able to see some of the people that work with us and that have started the agency. And so it is very casual, and it's sometimes quite funny and silly. But you can ask questions. Also, I do live meetings. If you're in the Utah area and you come into my office, I do consultations, and I also do phone consultations to just answer questions. So you can call anytime, 801-572-1696 or aactiveloveadoptions.com, and we're there for you. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Linda.